is and should be a touchdown. Here we go. Bryson Barnes has got his back behind him. It is Jaquindon Jackson. Here's the snap. Bryson Barnes looking deep. He's got a man. It's caught! He's gone! Touchdown early! Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to College Football Wraparound. So, of course, you saw my community post earlier this morning. Disregard that. We are coming to you live right now as 30 minutes until kickoff of this morning's game. It's going to be awesome. So, of course, got a lot to talk about. So, I'm going to go ahead and cut it here to my main camera. So, we got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about our games that we have had you picked. Kind of just give you some preview. We're going to talk about last night, Miami and Virginia Tech. What a game that was. Then we're going to get you some Washington and Rutgers information. And then also we're going to talk about Bear Alexander. He defensive tackle for USC who's going to be sitting out the remainder of the season. Then, of course, we'll get the game picks. So, a lot to get to today. So, let's go ahead and we will, of course, we have a lot of stuff to get into today. So, let's go ahead and start by talking about Virginia Tech and Miami in a game that was an interesting ball game, okay? So, Virginia Tech led at halftime 24-17. And this ball game, I think what the takeaway from this is the idea that Miami really didn't deserve to win this ball game. And that's been true for the last 2 weeks if you're keeping up. And the reason why I say that is because if you watch, Miami has not controlled things. Now, how did Miami end up winning this ball game? Well, it's simple, okay? And the simple part about it is this. That is that there we go. But really, what you see is that Virginia Tech made a couple of mistakes here. Now, if I believe correctly, they went for a fake field goal, didn't get it. Took another field goal whenever I believe it was like 31-24, they took a field goal. Then, with like 8 minutes to go in the game, Miami scored 14 straight points. After that 8-minute point, it's 34-24. Now, Virginia Tech had a chance. They had a Hail Mary. Very controversial play because there's a lot of back and forth. Was it a touchdown? Was it not? From what Jack told me, he watched the majority of the game. He told me that it looked like it should have been called a touchdown. Of course, I didn't get to see much of it. Of course, Jack did. So, of course, controversial touchdown that was called off. So Miami survives off of that. Virginia Tech nearly won the ball game. So what is my thoughts about this? First off, if you're a Miami fan, it's a little bit worrisome for your chance at a national championship. Now, granted that with the 12-team model, which this is the thing that really, I don't know why they didn't think about this, but you can be a team that's just okay, win your conference, and then make it to the college football playoff now. It's not the best of the best anymore. You're not getting the best 12 teams in the country. You're getting maybe 6 of the best, or let me rephrase that, because you're getting 9 of the best teams possibly, maybe 10, and then you got you have the conference champions. Go look at the ACC. What if they're champions like 9-3? Is that team going to compare to a 9-3 team from the SEC? Are we really going to do that? So there's a lot that can be said to this game, but Miami, they're 5-0. They keep on winning, and a win's a win at the end of the day, but I don't know how long Miami can just keep scraping by. All right, let's turn our attention now to Rutgers and Washington. Last night they played as well. And really, the big point of emphasis here is that this was a game where you look at the stats. Really, Washington played a good game. They outgained Rutgers in every capacity. They had 6 penalties for 69 yards, so 4 penalties for 31 for Rutgers. So what was the deal with this game? So I think it's the ability to not be able to score. That's really the point of emphasis here. You lose 21-18 to a Rutgers team who didn't even control the time of possession. So this is a game that, quite frankly, the fact Rutgers won this is incredible to think about. So, and of course, we can look deeper into this later, but that 21-18 Rutgers wins. Washington had a chance to win this ball game, didn't do it. So, interesting stuff. Let's turn our attention and look at USC. Their defensive tackle Bear Alexander. This article is coming from ESPN. This is from Pete Thamel, who is their lead source. Says right here, USC defensive tackle Bear Alexander, who had expressed displeasure with his playing time, is taking a redshirt season in 2024. Tony Jones, whom Alexander calls his father, told ESPN that Alexander doesn't plan to play for the rest of the season to preserve a year of eligibility. Alexander's plans to stay with the USC team in practice, Jones said. We made clear what our goals are, Jones said. That goal is to be a full-time starter and leader on the defense like we came there to be. So, USC coach Lincoln Riley on Thursday declined to answer questions about Alexander's decision, but called it surprising news. Riley added that his confidence in the defensive line hasn't changed. Excuse me. So, and of course, Bear Alexander, he started his career at Georgia. It's interesting, really, to think about this. Okay, players are now opting out because they're not getting playing time, and so they can just opt out and say, "Well, done for the year. Don't play no more. Play first 4 games. I'm done. I'll wait till next year. I'll prove that I can be a starter." And that's all good and well. At least, he's not transferring. He's just redshirting. But it does raise questions about the way that things are going in college football. Because, for instance, we were talking about it Wednesday, Matthew Sluka, he leaves UNLV because of the NIL stuff. There's so many different factors now into the way that this is going. It's turning into, whether they wanted it to be like this or not, it's becoming the NFL model. And I don't know why we can't just say, oh, we're just the NFL's developmental league. I don't know why we can't just say that. because that is where we're going with this. Now, do I believe that this could be ultimately a positive for him? Sure. I mean, this could end up being a great decision on his part because then next year he could be one of the best defensive players in college football. But I think it's just the fact that a guy is going to sit out because he's not getting the playing time he thinks he deserves. For one, are you the coach? Do you really think you're the coach of this football team? Okay? Lincoln Riley's the head coach. He calls the shots. But that's the thing that we've lost in college athletics now is that although you have a head coach that you got to listen to, you don't really have to listen to him. Just another guy on the sideline. We're there just to improve ourselves as players. And I mean, call it what it is, but I think that this is just a sad reality for where our college football's gone. Go look at college football 5 years ago and look at just the stark difference we now have in college athletics. It's crazy, folks. So very crazy. But again, this could end up being a positive for Bear Alexander. He could come back next year and be one of the best defensive players in college football. So we'll have to wait and see what he decides. But ultimately, honestly, it could be a loss for USC if something were to happen later in the season where they need him and he's redshirting and he just decides to redshirt. I mean, kind of a loss for USC. But either way, let's talk about this. We got some games coming up today that are going to be real interesting, folks. And so, first off, I mean, just let me go through the list and show you the game or tell you the games that we have on the channel that we are picking between. So we got Illinois, Penn State, Arizona, Utah, Louisville, Notre Dame, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Miami, and Virginia Tech. We had that on here. Oklahoma, Auburn, Clemson, Stanford, Baylor, BYU, Arkansas, Texas A&M, and then of course the game of the week, which is going to be possibly the game of the year, Alabama and Georgia. So, let's look at this, okay? So you look at, first off, Illinois, Penn State. Illinois has had a very interesting season. They have been at least against Nebraska, they were low penalty. They were able to move the football efficiently. Against a Penn State team who I believe is still trying to find out what their identity is. But yeah, I think it's going to be a quarterback battle. Really, if you look at it, it's going to be a lot of fun too. Luke Altmaier for Illinois, I think, is it's a pretty good quarterback. He's got a lot of experience. First off, he's been at Illinois for what seems like forever. And just, I mean, so very interesting to see how good this Illinois team has become. And I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due as well to a guy like Brett Bielema, who has been a head coach before. And Brett Bielema knows what he's doing. And then you look at James Franklin and Penn State. Excuse me. Of course, trying to find an identity. Drew Aller has been doing Drew Aller things. He's a special quarterback who's still trying to develop that potential. This game against Illinois today, it's going to be a fun one. Excuse me. Then you got Arizona and Utah. Now, I'm not completely sure if Cam Rising's coming back yet. Against Oklahoma State, they scraped by, nearly let the game go, but they held on. But they go against an Arizona team who had a bye week. But really they're looking at it as if this is a redemption game after getting their socks knocked off by Kansas State. So, excuse me, that should be interesting. Let's go to commercial. All right, welcome back, everybody. Sorry about that. Got choked up. I needed to get a sip of water. Of course, a lot of interesting ball games to talk about. Notre Dame and Louisville. I do think this game's interesting because of just the fact that Notre Dame, since losing to Miami, they have looked better. So, Louisville, on the other hand, I don't know. They haven't really proven anything yet. They haven't really played anybody except, I mean, they played Georgia Tech, but Georgia Tech again, they're now 3-2, I believe. So, I mean, there's not a lot proven there. So we'll see. This is an interesting ball game. Two teams that I believe are kind of evenly matched. So then Oklahoma State, Kansas State, two teams that are looking for redemption after losing. Man. If you look at it, Kansas State lost big to BYU. Oklahoma State had a close one against Utah. So that's an interesting ball game you're going to want to watch. Oklahoma and Auburn. Trying to see if Oklahoma could get back on track. I mean, we'll see what Michael Hawkins Jr. can do. And then for Auburn, they got Peyton Thorne starting, I believe. So, of course, the quarterback position for both teams is a question mark, really. Stanford and Clemson. Both teams are interesting. Now, I believe Stanford just got to Clemson because of Hurricane Helene. So we'll see how that impacts. BYU and Baylor. Excuse me. Ooh. Very interesting ball game. BYU, of course, coming off of that big win. We'll see what they can do. It's going to be a really interesting ball game. Of course, Baylor lost last week against Colorado, so we'll see about that one. Texas A&M and Arkansas. Arkansas, they beat Auburn last week. Very interesting ball game. And then Texas A&M, ever since losing Notre Dame, they have looked better. So we'll see. That's an interesting ball game. And then you got Georgia and Alabama tonight. The ability for Milroe to get out and make plays is going to be big against Georgia because Georgia did not have an answer for Milroe last year. So we'll see how that impacts. All right, now let's turn our attention to the game picks. So now we take you to our games picks records. And here you have it. So, I kind of had a slip as far as how I did. It wasn't good for me last week. So I am 21-18. Well, technically I'm 22-18. The viewers are let's see, viewers. It says 24-17 on here. They're 25-17 after last night. Colton, he is 26-17. Jack, on the other hand, 28-16. So this is before the games last night. How it was. These are after last week's ball games. So now, let's go ahead and pick some ball games. So we start out with Illinois and Penn State. So we're going to go from the bottom, work our way up. Now, the viewers, 60% have Illinois win this ball game. Colton's got Penn State. Jack's got Penn State. Personally, I got to agree with Colton and Jack. I got to go Penn State. I think they'll win this ball game. And I don't think it's going to be – I think it's going to be a very close ball game. This one, I believe, is going to be played at like 6:30 on NBC. So that should be a fun one to tune into. Arizona and Utah. Viewers, 75% Utah. Colton's got Utah. Jack's got Utah. I got this gut feeling. I'm going to go Arizona. I think they come back from being on bye week and seeing as how they played against Kansas State, and they want to break, and they want to give Utah maybe their only loss before the Big 12 championship game. Then you got Louisville and Notre Dame. Colton's got Notre Dame. Jack's got Notre Dame. Viewers got Notre Dame. I'll go Notre Dame as well. I don't think Louisville's as good as Notre Dame right now. So we'll see. But I got Notre Dame. Plus last year, I think they get redemption for that. Then we have a 50-50 split in our viewers for Oklahoma State, Kansas State. So no pick for our viewers. Colton's got Oklahoma State. Jack's got Oklahoma State. I got to go Kansas State. Now, I think this is solely because you look at Avery Johnson, the quarterback. I think he's going to be a big factor in this ball game. So give me Kansas State. And then Auburn and Oklahoma. Viewers, 75% Oklahoma. Colton's got Oklahoma. Jack's got Oklahoma. I would agree. I don't think Auburn. I thought they would be better going into this season, but they're not. So I got to go Oklahoma. Stanford and Clemson. Viewers, 75% Clemson. Let's see. Colton's got Clemson. Jack's got Clemson. I'd agree. After seeing what Clemson did to NC State last week, I got to go Clemson. BYU and Baylor. Viewers, 75% BYU. Colton's got Baylor. Jack's got BYU. I think Baylor comes back and gets a win against BYU after having a chance to beat Colorado. I got to go Baylor. And then last two games, you got Arkansas and Texas A&M, 60% Arkansas for our viewers. Colton's got Texas A&M. Jack's got Texas A&M. Give me Arkansas. I think Arkansas has played really good. They had Oklahoma State on the ropes. I'll go Arkansas in this ball game. And then our big game of the day, Georgia and Alabama. Colton and Jack's got Alabama. Our viewers have 75% Alabama. Give me Alabama. Like I said, Jalen Milroe, his ability to run is going to be the difference in this ball game. So give me Alabama. And folks, that is all we have for today. Of course, we will be back later tonight for Alabama, Georgia. And so with that being said, we'll see you later. Goodbye, everybody.